electioneering in Nigeria is like preparing for war. Why are politicians so desperate? And of course, it's a big question too. And yes, I am not going to be talking about this alone in the studios this morning. I have Emmanuel Ojukwu. He is a retired commissioner of police, a former PPRO, Nigerian Police Force, and also a former commissioner of police, Kogi and Enugu, and also provost police public relations school, right?
That's right.
Police Public Relations School. Okay, he is live in the studios this morning, and of course, we are going to be hearing a lot from him this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me here.
Nice having you on Talk Nigeria today.
That's right, my pleasure.
Okay, and yes, like I've said earlier, in case you are just tuning in, electioneering in Nigeria is like preparing for war. Why are politicians so desperate? That's a big question this morning. And serving governors and other political stakeholders have been accused of stockpiling arms and ammunition ahead of general elections in the country. The Director General of National Task Force on Small Arms, Light and Chemical Weapons, NATFORCE, Dr. Emmanuel Okereke, who raised the alarm, said the alleged stockpiling of ammunition by desperate political players ahead of the poll, which is about 30 days away, was facilitated by the porous nature of Nigeria's borders and non-existence of a specific body to tackle the menace. Due to lack of a legally established specific body or commission as obtainable in 14 out of the 16 countries in the West African sub-region, all manner of ammunition have been illegally brought into the country ahead of the coming election by high-class political players, including some state governors, he said. According to him, for Nigeria to effectively tackle the menace of proliferation of ammunition in the country with its attendant crimes, a National Commission for the Prohibition of Illegal Importation of Small Arms, Ammunition and Light Weapons and other related matters must be established, as already done by other West African countries except Nigeria and Gambia. The commission, he added, was recommended for all West African countries through a resolution passed to that effect by the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, in December 2017. Unfortunately, while 14 out of the 16 members sub-regional body have compiled Nigeria and Gambia are yet to be, Gambia and Nigeria are yet to do the needful in that direction. He lamented. Okereke complained further that even before the ECOWAS resolution, a bill for the establishment of such commission had long been sponsored by his outfit called National Task Force. The bill, which is currently before the 8th Senate, has passed second reading in the House of Representatives, but not yet in the Senate, having failed to scale through the required legislative processes in the 6th and 7th National Assembly. The commission, when established, he added, would not be a burden on the finances of the country, but a revenue-generating one. He therefore called on the Senate, as it resumes plenary on Wednesday, to fast-track legislative business on the bill for the commission to be in place as soon as possible. All of this was actually said by Dr. Emmanuel Okereke. And yes, he is the Director General of National Task Force on Small Arms, Light and Chemical Weapons, NATFORCE. And in the studios this morning, I have Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, who is a retired Commissioner of Police and former PPRO Nigerian Police, and also the former Commissioner of Police Kogi and Enugu, Provost Police Public Relations School. And he is in the studios this morning. And yes, let's get to the business of the day. In addition to buying PVCs, votes, the next thing politicians do is buying up arms. Is this a healthy development for the polity in Nigeria?
Thank you for having me. The two scenarios you just presented, buying PVCs and stockpiling arms, both of them are offenses under very many laws in this country. So whatever is an offense, and it's unhealthy for the development of our polity, unhealthy for safety and security, unhealthy for every Nigerian. You should buy PVC, as you very well know, it's an offense under the Electoral Act, inducement and all that. And anybody who gets involved in that and is caught will be prosecuted, and I'm sure a good number of them will go to jail. But the issue of buying arms, which happens to be the core issue of this morning, you know, I take some exception to what they call small arms and light weapons. You know, there's really nothing like a small arm or a light weapon. Just as I normally tell my friends, there's no small snake. Every snake is dangerous. You don't have to wait for an anaconda for you to take your cue. And this weapon is a weapon, it's an offensive weapon. It can destroy anybody, including the holder. That is the good and the bad thing about arms and ammunition. It's not only politicians. Politicians do actually, in the recent past, we've seen them you know, getting involved in such illegal importation and use of firearms within the polity. In the course of campaign, as they are going on right now, some of them because of desperation to get into elective offices because the place is very juicy. For doing virtually nothing, you earn millions every month to the detriment of the economy. So it's quite juicy and very, very attractive, and people can do whatever they want to, everything they should do to get there. But they're taking a risk because it's an offense, and I'm sure those who are caught, they will have themselves to blame.
Those who are caught,
that's right,
will have themselves to blame.
Sure.
Okay. Why is it that? Why is this warning coming at this late hour? And if the authorities are aware of the people involved, what has it done to arrest, prosecute the people involved?
It's not a new phenomenon. Part of the issues in Niger Delta that led to militancy came from arming political talks. And once police talks are armed and somebody gets into office, he no more has control over those arms because they've gone into wrong hands. There are over 350 million such weapons in this country. A good number of them in the hands of non-state actors. That is why it's a problem. Some of these arms, I just heard you talk about the task force on light weapons and all that. It's been on for many, many years, and they have identified, as many of us also have identified, the sources of these arms. So many failed states within Africa, there's poverty, there's hunger. Nigeria is the center of, is being called poverty capital of the world. And people want to make ends meet. So getting involved in smuggling arms, possessing arms, does not do anybody any good. It's not that not much has been done. The police, other law enforcement agencies, in particular the customs, they've been able to arrest a good number of people bringing in such illegal weapons through irregular means. They've been getting them, and a good number are being prosecuted. The police in various checkpoints and whatever you have, in some operations, have been able to recover such arms and get some people arrested. A lot is being done, but it cannot be done overnight. It requires public cooperation. That's what they call in psychology bystander apathy. You say it doesn't concern me. You're about to say work on me, in Arowana, in Hausa, Nibo will say Basaram. But it concerns you. Because I said earlier on in my intro, any weapon in the hands of a non-state actor is a potential weapon that could be turned against anybody. So a lot of issues are involved. The porous borders that they identified, that there are failed states in West Africa, that there are poverty in this country is there, then the public will to stop it has not been found. And that is a major factor.
The public will to stop it.
That is right. Some people may feel unconcerned. Some benefit from it. A person may have his son or daughter having such arms when he goes for political campaigns, and he said, with that arm, he will get money from me. And because people are hungry, they just want the money. How it comes is immaterial. But what I'm saying is that any such weapon in the hands of a non-state actor is a danger to everybody. So the entire Nigerian public who are the receiving ends of this menace need to voice their complaint. They need to gather themselves together and begin to give information to law enforcement agencies, security agencies, to mop up these arms and stop their lives being threatened on a daily basis.
Okay. All right, just joining us this morning, we have Barrister Tony Idoko, who is a lawyer. He's here with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome to Greetings 105.7. And let's talk Nigeria. And this morning we're looking at electioneering in Nigeria. Is like preparing for war. Why are politicians so desperate? That is the issue we're looking at this morning. And yes, before you came, I asked a question. I said, in addition to buying PDC's votes, the next thing politicians do is buying of arms. Is this a healthy development for the polity? And Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, who is the retired Commissioner of Police, has been able to say a lot to that regard. And I'm putting up that question to you from the legal angle of things. What would you say about that?
Thank you. When I was coming, I was listening to Mr. Ojukwu in the car.
Okay.
He just talked about the laws, you know, that is against electoral law. It's against our constitution. It's against common sense. It's against morality. It's against everything. However, you see, we have made it very necessary. We have made it necessary because you can't help it. And the reason I say that is because, you see, we have left. You see, the Constitution says that we should be part of government. It makes it clear to us. We ought to be part of government, but we have refused to be part of government. What we just do is that we're armchair critics. We just complain. We're just on the sidelines, and the only level of participation we have is during campaigns like this, when they share rice, we collect, you know, like a senator who's, I read recently about a senator from Ondo State. He was bringing bags of rice, you know, to share to his constituents, and he had an accident, killed some people. And I watched the video where the people were very angry for the first time. Instead of carrying the bags and taking home, they just tore the bags and were pouring them on the ground in a kitchen state. The rice was supposed to be going to Ondo State. That is how much we have been dehumanized and abused in this country. You know, that rice, somebody wants to, so he goes to buy rice. He begs us with rice to vote for him. Okay, but you see, the reason why those laws can't stop it is because it's like putting. It's like giving what does goat eat very well?
Grass.
Okay, grass, or let's say monkey. You put bananas before monkey, and then you make a law for the banana not to eat the monkey. I mean, not to eat. I mean, for the monkey rather not to eat the banana. It doesn't work. It can't work. Okay. Now we have monetized the system and the process. The reason for this is because of the money that is politicians are going to make from the system. This is the biggest industry right now. You know something I found out about our politics? Everybody leaves everything to go into politics. There are senior advocates of Nigeria who have never moved a motion as SAN, but they want to be there in the Senate. They go and come out. And then I've been wondering, why don't we collect it from them and give it to people who need it? We have medical doctors who leave. You see them, you think they are doing well, but they abandon the hospital, abandon the practice, and go into politics. We have musicians who are doing very well. We have artists who you think actors. They are doing very well. They leave it and they go into politics. What's happening? You know, we had a vice president in America, Al Gore. When he contested for president, he didn't. He's a professor of Harvard. He's a professor of Harvard and also at Harvard. He left when he lost the election. He went back to Harvard. He's gone back and he's not come back again since then to come and contest for the office. But you see, when we have monetized the system, you want to buy a man. I give you an example. A man who buys a phone for say 10 million naira just to participate in an election. He buys a phone for 10 million naira, and then that's just one leg of it. The other leg is that he will now have to campaign among the party officials, bribing them, giving them money because he wants to get the primary, he wants to win primaries. He spends, say, maybe more than that 10 million. Maybe he spends about almost another 50 million just to get the primary, or even 100 million just to get the primary. Then after that, okay, after that, he now has to spend again by buying rice and buying other things. The man will have to defend it. He will have to get arms because he has spent so much and he is going to. I told you, I was here, I came one time and I told you, I said, do you know that I did a research, okay, and I discovered that the president of America buys the phone for $5,000. That's 1.8 million naira. Yes, that's what Trump. That's how much it costs. In the UK, the PMs is almost free. Yes. It is almost Theresa May got there. She almost not buying the phone. They don't buy phone. You understand? But here we sell, we monetize it, and then when they go there, we fix humongous salaries for them. You know, I know somebody who told me that what it cost him to come to House of Reps, it cost him almost 250 million. If he adds the court cases, the money he had to pay lawyers and everything, it cost him. You know, when I left, I was thinking, I said, no wonder, I can't blame this guy. And we think that we can expect something from them. First of all, he has to recoup his 250 million if it cost him that much to get to House of Reps. Okay? And then that's why when they get there, first of all, that's what they don't care about you. And then they will kill. Look, in this period now, people, you see, you saw what happened during the APC primaries in Lagos recently. There's one guy that is Oluomo or something like that. You know, not primary, it was a campaign. You saw what happened at the campaign. Why do you think they are doing that? Why do you think they are doing that? Then there are ritual killings going on. Then there are different kinds of maiming, of killing during campaigns. Why are we doing that? Because we have monetized the system. I belong to an association, okay? And we have been saying we want to elect new ESCOs. Want to elect new ESCO in the association. Those who are there, they say they don't want to continue. Those who will say, okay, people who wants to be chairman of this, nobody wants to be. Why? Because there's no money. It's not monetized. I will discuss it with Laugh. I said, if you monetize it till now, you will be surprised how people will start getting interested. And then we heavily monetize it. We have said it severally that our lawmakers are the highest paid in the world. But we're just saying it, we're just mouthing it. We don't do anything about it.
We don't do anything.
Yes, and then for somebody who is going to contest for the office of governor, we know how powerful governors are. More powerful. Let's face it, they are more powerful than the president in this country. It's just that the president controls the army, and imagine if they are the ones who control at the state level, they control, and that's why people have been afraid of state police. When they give them more powers, we are scared what they do, because a governor is in control of all the money and allocation. He spends it how he likes it. That's it. You know, and when you bring that for prosecution, you see a man who is going to be governor, who knows is going to control billions times 4 years. Times 4 years. In some states, it runs into trillions. If you count what their budget, both internally generated and federal allocation, it goes maybe like Lagos and Rivers and all those one and Kano. Maybe it might go to a few into Delta, those quiet states. It goes into trillions if you count times 4 what they get. Okay, then he's good. I say you should not kill people. You will kill people. We have given them enormous powers.
We are giving them
enormous powers, and we're not doing anything about it.
Okay, more of the questions coming in this morning, and yes, now to you, sir, Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu. This is real quick. Was the statement made to put citizens in a panic mode? This particular statement by the Director General of National, Task Force on Small Arms, Light and Chemical Weapons.
Well, I don't think so. As I said earlier on, it is not a new phenomenon. People have been stockpiling arms, politicians have been using, and they're using violence on us, the electorate, and on themselves. Is there any phenomenon? This task force wasn't formed yesterday. It's been existed for many years. They are asking for a commission, and Nigeria should join the Committee of West African States to have a commission on this. It's not even necessary in my own understanding. Having commission this, commission this, commission this. You soon have a commission to regulate hate speech and all that. We're talking about people being responsible. People valuing life. Nigerians need to reinvent or recreate or reintroduce value for life. Our society has become so militarized. The many of military rule have done a lot of damage to the psyche of Nigerians. When I was much younger, I'm over 60 now, young people wouldn't see a corpse.
You don't look it.
You dodge. But these days, you see an accident scene, people are dead. Small boys, they use their phone and video it, and they're online, trending with their friends. See this man, he never died you, he never died you. See his hand, he's shaking. Oh my God, is that how people die? So, we have a culture of violence right now in this country. We fought a war in this country. Nobody was ever tried to court for war crimes. That happened elsewhere. So we have kind of taken violence as a norm. And I tell you what, this is it's a personal issue. I went to a bank to take some money, and when somebody opened the page, they found out it was a police officer. He said, "You a police officer?" I said, "You don't look like one. You don't look tough. You don't look wicked." They expect a police officer to look wicked and mean. If you do otherwise, you are not man enough. If a politician is not tough, Nigeria will think that is not the correct one. The more violent you are, the more we appreciate you. So I'm talking of a reorientation of the psyche of Nigerians. Let us begin to value life again. Because I don't know, there was I think 18th century poet John Donne who said, look, don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for you. Any one of us could be a victim of this issue. So what the man said is not new. That task force, I don't really know the use of it. All we need to do is sensitize Nigerians to shun violence. It does nobody any good. People getting armed in the electoral process is like a Frankenstein monster. You can't control them anymore. These boys can. Some of these issues happen in Benue State and some other states were caused by those that were militarized and given arms by the politicians. And they come around everywhere accusing everybody of abandoning them. But they created the scenario by themselves. I mean their talks. Now when the talks, they now go out of control because they are lawless people, down drugs, down whatever. And they can kill even their own creators. They're like mad dogs. They don't even know their owners. My point, let the culture of violence cease. And that's what you find in police. I've noticed I've been in police for 32 years. You find in police, if you are doing a case, somebody reports a case to the station, at the station, and you are handling following due process, somebody wants him quick. Squeeze him, arrest his wife, arrest his children. They will talk. The man will talk, squeeze him. He wants to squeeze a fellow human being for him to talk. In that case, the person will confess even what he didn't do because he wants to leave. He goes to court, lawyers will play around it, and then they do what they call trial within trial and defeat that confession. The man made. We would like to apply pressure on our fellow human beings. But let's just remember the golden rule. You do unto others what you want them to do to you. Yeah. Because the table could turn, you may be the victim next day. Let us shun violence in this country. And let us say no to those who are violent. If you want to have an electoral position, elective position, you want to be a governor, member of house, or whatever, follow due process.
Follow the due process.
And for God's sake, let's reduce poverty in this country.
Okay. Yes, that is the voice of Emmanuel Ojukwu, a retired commissioner of police. He's with us this morning on Talk Nigeria. And we're talking on electioneering in Nigeria is like preparing for war. Why are politicians so desperate? That is the question this morning. And yes, you can also be part of the show if you have questions you would want to ask or you want to have your say on this particular topic. The phone lines are 070-1057-0088 and 070-1057-0909. You can also send us messages via 070-1057-0025. Also, I have Barrister Tony Idoko in the studios. And yes, Tony, Mr. Tony, Barrister Tony, the question I ask him now, I would want you to share a light on that particular one too. What the Director General of the National Task Force on Small Arms, Light and Chemical Weapons said.
Okay. No, I don't think it is meant to scare Nigerians. He's just done his job. His job is to inform Nigerians.
Okay.
If he wasn't informing Nigerians, tomorrow we will say, no, they're not, government did not communicate. They didn't tell us about this. We were supposed to be aware. Government is not talking to us. So they just talked to us. So what we're supposed to do is to work with that information. Okay. Now, what do? We should start talking to ourselves. Churches, religious organizations start talking to their people. You know, traditional rulers should call their people. Ask yourself, these guys who are coming with guns and giving to you, because it's the young people they are going to give. They're not going to give to people in the age bracket of Mr. Ojukwu. You can't tell him to go and you can't. He can't. He's not going to fight for you. It's young men that are going to arm with this. Now ask yourself, are there children with us? Because when you give me a gun to give us guns to go and fight, we should, where are your children? Give them also, so that all of us can, you know. But you don't send your children to US, to Canada, Australia, and UK, and then you are giving us guns to go and fight for you. You understand?
Yes.
You see, I tell you something. When former President Jonathan, you know, I remember during the issue of the sickness of the late president, you know, and then there was a cabal that held down the country, and they didn't allow the former president to act as vice president, you know. And then I remember the protests of Save Nigeria, you know, led by Pastor Bakare, Professor Shoyinka, and all of you, and all of that. Why Professor Shoyinka, Pastor Bakare was here? His children, 2 of his children were with him in the protest. That's an example. That's good. You know, he organized a protest, and anything could have happened. But he brought his children, 2 of his children, a guy and a lady. They were part of it, and they were in front with him. That's how to go. So if you are giving us guns, give to your children too. Okay. Don't give other people children. So these are questions that. So we're supposed to process this information and use our sense to work with it. You know, someone says something, they say, you don't complain about what you permit. If we permit this kind of shenanigan to continue in our country, then we should not complain tomorrow about it. Okay. So I think that I don't think, and just like Mr. Ojukwu said,
yes,
we should eschew violence, and we should begin to talk to ourselves, talk to your children, let the schools talk also to this. And I think that it's about time that we also added this thing in our curriculum in school. Let's start teaching our children, you know, about this thing. Is it civic duty, you know, and all of that.
Civic duty, yeah. Civic duty. Okay, like he said.
And finally, like he said, he made a very, very important statement. He said, let us reduce poverty. That is the reason for this. If people are poor, they may not listen. If we reduce poverty, if people find something that they are doing, you know, if they can survive, if you get them to give him a gun, he'll be busy.
Yes,
he will not want to go and kill anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
There should be a reorientation of the psyche of Nigerians.
Good.
I love that you said, sir. Thank you so much. And yes, why do people now go for arms instead of depending on government security agencies, Mr. Ojukwu?
Well, it's not the issue of depending on government security agencies.
But the way it looks right now, it's like they depend on, you know.
We created these agencies. If you give birth to a child, nature requires you to tend such a child, take care of him.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll be an irresponsible father or parent. I think that's even the law now. It's Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. That's if a father cannot sustain his children, it becomes an offense. What Nigerians have done when they created these agencies, particularly the police, that's my constituency. And we left it out, we got it abandoned, not caring for it. And you know, you want the police to do so many things, but you give him so little things. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. They've been crying, the police have been crying over the years about malforming equipment, about poor funding and all that. And the policemen ask for 300 billion to make us, enable them do their job. You give them 11 billion and then you are throwing stones at them that they are not performing. How can they perform? With their personal funds? Which is nothing again. The poorest police in the whole Africa and Nigeria, where you call us a giant of Africa. Recently, Nigeria police were voted at the worst in the world, and people were trying to lambast the police. I laughed at them. What that report said that you are police. Nigeria's police. The police of Nigerians, people by Nigerians, meant for Nigerians, is the worst. Nigeria should bury her head in shame. In fact, flag should fly at half-mast. That the whole world said that this country cannot protect her citizens. That's the implication. It's not an indictment on Nigerian police. It's an indictment on the entire nation.
Yeah.
Because we have failed to do the needful. Lawyers talk about equity. If you want equity, you must do equity. You know, otherwise you say police will go to hell and you go to heaven. Who told you? It's not true. The security agency will do their best. They're all Nigerians. There's no police boy. They're all men who have passed through so many things and they're all experienced. They also go to the same market like you and I do. They know there's poverty in this country. They too are poor. They know government is not meeting up to its responsibility. So the forces, the security agencies, are kind of handicapped. I told somebody recently that Nigerian police is in ICU. And if you just switch off the oxygen, he dies. If he dies, part of us goes. So now that these agents are not doing the work we expect them to do, because we will not enable them so to do, it is now every man to himself and God for us all. That's the Hobbesian theory. Everybody become nasty. The more you can get, you get, because the person who is the arbiter, the middleman that will stop you from exercising your right, is no more, is handicapped. You have handicapped him. So we created a scenario where we allow everybody now to fend for himself. And not just in the policing. You have a house, you make your own water. You have a water board, somebody says so. You have a generator. You are NEPA or PLC, as case may be. You do so many things for yourself because you don't want to die. You don't want to be a statistic. So self-preservation, I've had somebody say, is the first law of nature. People want to preserve themselves because our corporate entity is not helping us, because we have not done what we ought to do.
Okay, we have messages coming in already this morning. I have this particular message here. It says, the political reward system in Nigeria is so lucrative that failed bankers, medical doctors and SANs feel that the easiest way to stupendous wealth is via politics. Hence, politics is a do-or-die affair in Nigeria. Idiku Austin from Maraba. Idiku, thank you so much for that message this morning. Another one here says, good morning, my name is Truth. Why is election in Nigeria violence? 1. Electoral education. Voting pattern. That's 2. 3. Violence campaign. Who is responsible? The media. And I urge you to go around Abuja and neighboring states and see how voters' cards are being given. So get there on, some get there on no stress, while others pay to get there. That is clear rigging, because without voters' ID, only one section of people can vote. The media and the police have work to do in this. We don't have another country if the simple things are not done correctly. Okay, that is a message here. From Truth. Thank you so much for sending that in this morning. Another message here says, good day, greetings. President Muhammad Buhari, poor policy, inhuman and injustice. Better to vote for Atiku and all that. Okay, people of the North and Central. All right, thank you so much for your message. Another one here says, Barry Saidoko, God bless you. Mr. and Mr. Ojuku, God bless you. We all know the problems in Nigeria. The greatest problem in Nigeria today is caused by the elite. I just don't know how we can get out of this satanic problem. And I am sure your guest may not even have solutions to this problem. It is very dicey and unfortunate God bless and help us. Uncle Joe in Kuje. Yes. Those are a couple of messages we have this morning. And now, back to the questions, back to some of the questions we have here. These are not the same weapons that end up in the hands of kidnappers. These weapons that come into the country during election period, season rather. Now, kidnappers, they have access to these weapons, even armed robbers, because after the election, these same weapons are kept by them.
Yes.
They don't return them back to the politicians.
No.
So they are kept and they are used at the end of the day.
Because look, the truth is that after then, the politician, he doesn't even care. He just wanted to win his election by hook or by crook. So he has gotten his election in a crooked way, and so he's gone. In any case, later you find out that he will not be able to even control those guys. Yes, so you can't control a man who has or people with guns. So he's not concerned about what we are. What he's not concerned about the peace or about anything. He's just concerned about coming to Abuja. He's gotten it, so he comes there, he begins to make his money. When you call him, when those boys call him that time, he doesn't answer them again. Okay, so you see, we can speak the grammar from now till tomorrow. It's not going to work because we've been talking about these things for quite some time.
Yes.
Demonetize the system and see how order will be restored. I'm telling you, okay. Just a look. You see, what happens now is that, like I said, people sell houses. Right now, if you want to buy a house, this is the best time to buy a house. At least I know in Abuja, probably in everywhere, because people are desperate. They would sell their house because they want to go and contest election. People are selling properties, selling cars, and all of that. Okay. Now, after selling that, they come. You know that look, it's a big business. It's like you put like they say a million for 100. Bible, God promises 100-fold, but this one is not 100-fold. This is like the fold is in millions. You understand? You put whatever you put, you get it in millions. Because the moment you land in Abuja, if you are maybe let's take even from House of Reps, at the moment you land, the first thing, the kind of alert you'll be receiving. See, then they'll now tell you the ones that are official that comes out that we know. They now say this one is for this car loan, this car allowance, this house allowance, this, that. I mean, a lawyer told me, okay, he told me, he said he was in House of Reps. He used to be in House of Assembly in one of his states before, 2 times when he now came to where he told me one time, he said my brother, he said he cannot go back to practice. He told me that. He said if you test this money, you can't go back to practice.
If you test this money?
Yes, he said you will not go back to practice. And so when you come, you see them buying land, buying houses in Maitama and everything. Someone was saying that in 1999, before all of this started, when we just started, we didn't know it was going to be like this in 1999. There were people who came with state transport buses to come and be sworn here. You understand? Like you're coming from Abia State, that Abia line. From Benue, you come with Benue links. That's how they came. They didn't have cars. I'm telling you the gospel truth. They didn't have cars. But today, after the first thing they did was that they monetized houses for them in Apple legislative quarters. Houses that they bought from government around 8 million, they're now selling it over 100 million. You understand? And then they start having so when you see all of these things, all these allowances, they're earning about 1 million. Mr. Ojukwu just told you something. How much are policemen paid? Policemen and politicians who should be earning more. I'll tell you something. On a program like this, someone invited me one time. There was a statistics that came out saying Nigerian police very corrupt, one of the most corrupt organization. It always comes out like that. Yeah. So they invited me to a station like this. I was supposed to come and speak on those issues. There were 2 just like that. And the other one was I was on the side of arguing that Nigerian police is the most corrupt. And when he called me and told me, I told him, I said, in all good conscience, I cannot make that argument. He said, well, I said, I agree. I concede to the fact that Nigerian police, there's corruption in Nigerian police, just like everywhere. I said, but I can't say that Nigerian police is the most corrupt. I asked him, I said, how many, as you move in this town, how many plazas do you see in this town that are owned by Nigerian policemen? I said, how many big houses do you see in Asokoro and Maitama owned by Nigerian policemen? So, who owns all these houses? Is it the civil servants, the politicians, or the Nigerian policemen? Is it the Nigerian police that you see them standing on the road? Do you see what they do? One time I just closed from work. It was raining. And I saw the Nigerian police inside. He was controlling traffic. My heart went up. I took my phone. It was raining, so it was heavy. I wanted to capture him in my distance and make a statement. I said, it's not when we just hear something, oh, Nigerian police this, and we just take it, oh, yes, there are bad eggs, and like in every society, every system, they do some things, But when they do good things, when we see good things, we should promote it. You understand? Unfortunately, the rain was so heavy and it was so hazy, I couldn't get the picture very well. So we cannot say that how much do you pay that Nigerian policeman for that duty? He stands on the road, he sleeps there, He sleeps on the road so that they go on duty. You don't see them, they don't come back home for about a month. You don't see them and their families. And you say that they're most corrupt. And then somebody just goes to this place and they call it constituency allowance. Is it not Shehu Usani who told us that the senators were collecting 13 million naira, 13 or something every month?
Okay.
Every month.
Okay, Mr. Ojukwu. Yes, at the end of the day, at the end of the electioneering period or season, you see that these weapons.
Yes.
They are in the wrong hands. So what would you say to that effect?
Right now they're in the wrong hands, and they remain in the wrong hands. Because you cannot mop them up easily. Because they filtered. Nigeria is such a large country, it's difficult to police Nigeria without technology. Now, right now, we have a lot of issues, insecurity issues in the northeast. Many civilians are cooperating with the military in the fight. Some are getting armed. When the insurgency is over, nobody's going to ask for those arms. They are unaccounted for. Right now in Kamuku Forest, that's why I have in Brimgwari and all that. Very large forest, one of the most deadly forests we have in this country. The same Yammangu Forest in Zamfara. We have bandits who come to the streets, kill people, rob them, rape them, loot, return to the forest. These are ungoverned and ungovernable areas. Is here. We also have the Niger Delta. There are a lot of arms there. You think that this amnesty has solved it? It has not. Because just touch the surface. The fundamental problem has not been addressed. People are still agitated, people are hurting, and people are flaunting money everywhere. We also have what I call adult delinquency. Those that ought to give examples are giving the wrong example. A senator recently was like alleged to have committed an offense. He ran into his house, locked himself up. That people are saying, why should police go there and arrest him? What we are saying is that police should not arrest anybody who is alleged to have committed an offense. Is it because he's a senator? He has no immunity. So these adults are trying to promote an immunity for impunity. That nothing will happen, you can't do anything. Somebody gets corrupt or is alleged to have corrupted himself, in the political process. His trial will last for 25 years. He may even die, and then the case has gone. There are those of 1999, 2003. The case are still in court. They're still in court. And they use all manner of means to show that nothing will happen. Now, I saw somebody wrote today that once you join a particular political party, your sins are forgiven. I don't want to mention the party. We all know. I saw it today, this morning. If you join this party, your sins are forgiven. So, man, I want to commit as much sins as possible and join that party. My sins are forgiven here, but Nigeria don't forget easily. So the violence is, people are hurting. And if they can have access to weapons to vent their anger on the system that is not protecting them, they will do so. So these arms are in the hands of all manner of people, kidnappers, terrorists, and those who are protecting themselves like Fulani herdsmen, and nobody says anything about them. There's a problem in this country, gentlemen, and it is our collective, it must be our collective resolve to solve that problem, say no to that proliferation, because nobody is exempt. Crime is not a respecter of persons. An arm in the hand of a wrong person does not respect anybody. Somebody who can kill himself can kill his father and kill his parents and kill his sister. So we need to be careful. Let there be a reorientation.
Okay, a reorientation. Is that the way forward in order to curb this situation, to tame this particular issue of weapons at the end of the day being in the hands of wrong individuals?
Yes, we need our borders to check our borders the more. The customs are doing a lot more needs to be done. People need to give information. Some of these weapons don't just get into this country. Somebody pack them somewhere outside Nigeria. Let's also have a cooperation amongst West African states. Let Nigeria be more friendly with other nations. They can give us information that something is coming. In all the nations around Nigeria, you know, they are not English speaking. We are not best of friends, so never mind we're in ECOWAS. Some may like Nigeria to go down. And we make too much noise when we do little. The giant of Africa, which giant of Africa? Giant for what? Giants are sleeping. You know, there are issues. So let this arm not get there, and then let the security agencies on ground, the police in particular, because you have the police in every nook and crannies of this country. They need to have the mobilization, the intelligence, the cooperation with members of the public to inform them when they see such arms in the hands of non-state actors, to mop them up and save both the police, the government, and anybody. And I told somebody recently who called them light arms and small weapons. That is, I say it's not true. I don't want to say that there's no small snake. Every snake is dangerous. Snake, yeah. 5 men with AK-47 can keep Abuja in under turmoil for days. 5 men, 5 only. No matter the sufficient of the military everywhere, 5 men with AK-47 can sack this radio station and keep Abuja under siege for days. So it's not a light matter.
It's not a light matter, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Much is said there this morning, and yes, Barrister, before we go real quick in just a couple of seconds, what is your advice to the security agencies in this regard?
Well, they have to be alive to their responsibilities. The information is not only for us, it's also for, I'm sure before they passed it on, they would have discussed it, maybe passed it to also the heads of the security agencies, you know. I'm sure something tells me that they're doing something about it. Congratulations to the new IG of police. He looks like a gentleman. It looks believable. I don't know why I believe whatever he says. Yes, for now. And so far, his actions have been very altruistic. He's been okay, and we should just pray for him. Okay, that's what I think. I think we should pray for him that God helps him. God gives him the wisdom to do what is right. I believe that he will. This information will also be processing it now and be doing it. But before I go, I want to read this. Okay. It's a constitution. Okay. Section 14 sub C of the constitution. It says, the participation by the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provision of this constitution. The participation of the people in their government. Because this is our government. All the governments of us, they are our government. But the law, the constitution, this is a constitutional requirement. It's supposed to be mandatory. Anything that is constitutional, it means it's mandatory. Yes. The participation of the people. We are supposed to participate in governance, in our government. We are not supposed to just elect people to go, and then after 4 years they come and buy rice for us. They come and tell us stories. We are supposed to be participating. In other words, we are supposed to be reviewing, be following governance, and say, how far with this? Oh, no, we cannot have this. You can't be earning this. A legislator should not earn more than the salary of a director. Leave it there. You can't come and be buying cars, Jeep, all this stuff. You don't go to Coscharis if you must buy a car. You want to buy the latest Prado Jeep from. No, we're not participating. We're allowing that. We should stop that. Do you know that Trump's rating among the billionaire list dropped after he became president? Because it's about service. He's gone, he's left. He has not had time, the kind of time he used to have for his conglomerate. He's now facing America. You can see Trump tweeting. When last did you see him talk about business again? It's been tweets about China, tweets about North Korea, tweets about this, talking. No time. So his business has gone. You can see the level of sacrifice they have. Of course. Our own here is, you are nothing. When you get there, then you become Trump. You just become a billionaire. Suddenly you have an airline. We don't question. Okay. We were not participating.
All right. Thank you so much. And I think with that, we have come to the end of Talk Nigeria for today. And yes, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Ojukwu, for coming in this morning. We appreciate you and we celebrate you. Yes. And also Barrister Idowu. Tony, thank you so much for coming in.